Rain ate the city's lights until every street looked the same. Rita stood under a thin bus stop roof that did not really help. Water slid down the timetable until the ink turned to gray mud. She hugged her coat and watched the road turn into a slow river. Cars passed like dark fish. No bus came. The night felt wider than the city, as if the storm had stretched it. A man in a soaked pea coat stood a few steps away. He did not shiver. He watched the rain the way a local watches a river they grew up with. When Rita looked at him, he smiled like he knew the storm's name. "The shelter across the park is open," he said. "I can walk you." Rita did not trust strangers. But the rain had a weight that pushed on her bones. Her phone showed 1 bar and no ride. Her last bus had been canceled. The word shelter felt like a clean towel after a cold shower. She nodded. They left the bus stop and crossed into the park. The path was a long black strip of glass. Trees shook in through water. The lamps were out or drowned. Rita kept her eyes on the faint glow ahead. It grew, steadied, and made a shape. An old community hall with wide windows and a low roof. On the door, a sign in thick marker. "Open, come in." Inside, the air was warmer. She smelled paper, damp cloth, and coffee. Rows of cots waited like quiet bodies. A silver urn steamed on a table. A corkboard filled a wall with flyers and faces. The pea-coat man poured her a cup. His hands were steady, as if the cold did not touch him. "You live near?" Rita asked. Her voice sounded smaller in the big room. "Used to," he said. "Before the flood." Thunder rolled across the ceiling. Rita walked to the corkboard to pass time. Most posters were wrinkled and warped by rain. Names, dates, phone numbers. The ink bled into the paper like bruises. But one sheet looked new. Clean white. Fresh tape. She leaned closer and her breath caught. The face on the paper was hers. Same eyes, same birthmark near the left brow. Under the photo, missing since last night. Her coffee trembled in her hand. She told herself it was a prank, some bad joke made by bored volunteers. She turned to ask the man. He was looking at her, not surprised at all. "Is this a joke?" she asked. His smile did not move. "I tried to bring you sooner." Wind slammed the doors. The lights hummed and flickered. In the window's black glass, she saw the room behind her. She saw the rows of cots, the urn, and her own figure dripping in pale. She did not see the man. She blinked hard. The urn kept steaming. The hall felt colder. She turned to thank him or to argue, but the man in the pea coat was gone. Water led from the door to the corkboard in a thin trail. It ended at another new sheet that pinned itself under a thumbtack still rolling. It said, "Found." Below it, ink slid down in wet letters. "Shelter takes what the rain brings." Rita tried the door. It opened. Rain pushed against her like hands. She stepped back. The hall seemed safer than the storm, even with the wrong poster, even with the empty place where the man should be. She told herself she would wait 1 hour, dry off, and then leave. She told herself many practical things. None of them settled. She did not notice the first drip that fell from the ceiling onto her wrist. It was not water. It was colder. Rita set the coffee down and rubbed her wrist. The drop left a pale mark like frost. She looked up. The ceiling tiles were stained in wide circles. Some circles still grew, one quiet ring at a time, like someone breathing above the grid. She told herself old buildings leak. Old buildings moan. Old buildings keep air that never leaves. She walked the aisle between cots. Each cot had a folded blanket and a small tag with a number. The numbers did not run in order. 17 beside 42. 3 beside 19. At the far end, a laminated page sat on a music stand like a museum label. She read it because reading was simpler than fear. "Welcome to the last shelter," it said in block type. Below, 3 rules in plain words. Do not sleep near the windows. Do not speak your full name after midnight. Do not accept a second cup of coffee. She almost laughed. It felt like a prank list, the kind people post to get clicks. But the letters were not printed. They were pressed into the plastic like someone had written on paper hard enough to bruise through. She touched the page. It was cold as the drip had been. Rita checked the clock above the office hatch. The hands showed 11:30. She whispered the time to herself, a small ritual to stay present. Then she thought of the missing poster. Missing since last night. She tried to remember where she had been last night at this time. She reached for the memory and found mist. She found the weight of rain. She found a bus stop in a different place or the same place looking older. A door clicked. She turned fast, ready to see the pea-coat man. Instead, a woman stepped out from behind the office hatch curtain. She wore a yellow rain jacket with the hood up inside the building. Her shoes were tied tight, double knotted. She walked like she knew the floorboards, like each step had a memory. "First time here?" the woman asked. "Yes," Rita said. "I was told it was open." "It is," the woman said. "Open for what arrives." Rita wanted normal words. She wanted a name, a clipboard, a form. "Is there a staff list? A register?" The woman looked at the coffee urn. "Did you pour that yourself?" "A man did," Rita said. "Tall, pea coat. He said he used to live nearby." The woman pulled back her hood. Her hair lay flat with rain. Her face was kind and tired. "We don't have staff," she said. "We have guests. Some leave. Some guide. The storm decides who needs a hand across." Rita pointed at the corkboard. "Why is my face there?" The woman's eyes moved to the board and then past it, like she was checking a clock only she could see. "Because the rain keeps good records," she said. "It knows what it brings and what it keeps. Sit down. Warm up. And if you can help it, do not say your full name after midnight." "What happens after midnight?" Rita asked. "Names return calls," the woman said. "And some calls come from rooms you should not visit." The clock hand slipped to 11:35. The rule about the second cup of coffee scratched at Rita's thoughts. She had not finished the first. She wanted to throw it away. She wanted to drink it fast just to defy a sign. The woman watched her like a teacher watches a student choose a door. "Where are the bathrooms?" Rita asked, choosing a smaller fear. "Down the back hall," the woman said. "Stay on the runner. Do not step on the bare wood." Another odd rule. Rita nodded and went. The runner was a long brown strip with small gold leaves. She kept her shoes on it and tried not to look at the gaps in the floor. The wood there looked dark and soft like wet paper. In the mirror outside the bathroom, she saw herself in the hard light. Her face was pale, her hair stringy. But her eyes looked too sharp for a person who had been out in the rain. As if she had slept well for a long time or had not slept at all in days. She washed her hands and counted to 20. When she came back into the hall, she noticed a new tag on a cot near the office hatch. It was number 0. No blanket lay on it. Only a folded poster, face down. She picked it up. It was another missing notice. It did not have a photo yet. In the corner, wet ink bled into a line that could become her face if someone guided it. Midnight was closer now. The storm's sound changed from many drops to one long hiss, as if the city had slipped under the surface. The woman in the yellow jacket offered Rita a dry towel and a chair near a space heater that did not look plugged in. The heat touched Rita anyway, thin and steady. The woman asked where Rita had been headed before the bus failed. Rita opened her mouth to answer and found another blank. A shape of a plan without steps, a street without a sign. "I was going home," she said at last, because it was the right kind of answer, even if it did not feel true. "That is what everyone means," the woman said. "Sit. Warm your hands. You can leave when the rain lets you see the exit." Rita almost said her full name then, the way she always did when meeting someone new. She stopped the last syllable with her teeth. The rule pressed against her tongue like a bit. She swallowed and asked the woman carefully what the shelter was called. "We call it the last shelter," the woman said. "But it had other names. Church hall. Music room. Flood station. The names wore out the way signs do. The rules stayed." "Who made the rules?" Rita asked. "People who broke them," the woman said. "Or people who watched someone else break them and then wrote fast." The heater hummed. The clock clicked from 11:40 to 11:41. The woman looked at the coffee urn and then at Rita's cup. "Do not take a refill," she said. "Even if your hands shake. Even if the first tasted wrong." "It did taste wrong," Rita said. "Too perfect. Too smooth." "That is how they pour it," the woman said. "So your guard falls." "Who are they?" Rita asked. "The ones who answer when you say your name," the woman said. "The ones who stand in the places where the floorboards are missing." Rita looked down at the runner and the dark wood beyond it. In the corner of her eye, the gaps seemed deeper than wood should be, like water wells, like doorways drilled into a lake. She wrapped the towel tighter around her shoulders and tried to think of something that would make the shelter ordinary. A fire code sign, a first aid kit, a stack of folding chairs. She found all three where they should be. It helped, but only like a picture helps with hunger. She checked the corkboard again. The found paper glowed faintly as if the wet ink held light. The word under it had dried into a skin. "Shelter takes what the rain brings." The letters looked older now, as if they had always been there and she had just noticed. The office hatch curtain moved without a hand. Rita thought the pea coat man would step out. Instead, a boy came through. He could not be more than 15. His hoodie was too big. His hair stuck up in the back. He carried a plastic bag with a pair of dry socks and a toothbrush. He did not look at Rida. He put the bag on cot number 0 and sat beside it. Rida stood. "Hi," she said, careful with her greeting. "I'm R." She stopped before the last letters. The boy looked up like a dog hearing a fridge door. His eyes were too interested. Not kind. Not cruel. Just listening hard. "Don't," the woman said softly from behind Rida. "He is still half in the rain." The boy smiled with only his lips. He held up the plastic bag and whispered, not to them but to the room, a full name that was not his. The air around the bag wrinkled like heat. The socks inside turned from white to a color the eye does not have a word for and then back to white again. Rida stepped away. The boy watched her the way the peacoat man had watched the rain. He put the bag down. He spoke a second full name, clearer. The space between the cots answered with a soundless shape, the outline of a person without a person inside it. The outline leaned as if to listen. Then it faded, like breath on glass disappearing. "Go lie down," the woman told the boy. "You came in on the wrong side of midnight. You will be thirsty if you keep talking." The boy lay on cot number 0 and pulled the poster over his chest like a blanket. He closed his eyes. His lips moved, soundless now. The clock hands touched 11:58. Rida felt the urge to say her full name. It rose like a burp from deep in her. She almost said it just to own it, to prove she was still here and not a photo on a board. Her tongue formed the last syllable. The woman put a finger on Rida's wrist. The cold mark flashed again. "If you say it, something will be polite and say it back," she said. "And we are not ready for guests." Midnight waited like a door. The first second after midnight was quiet. Then the storm pressed a new weight against the windows. The whole hall leaned a little like a ship at sea. Somewhere inside the walls, liquid moved the way people move when they do not want to be hurt. The heater gave one long breath and then went still. The coffee urn clicked. It had a small red light that was off before. Now it was on. The smell of coffee grew stronger, richer, sweeter. Rida's cup, which was still half full, seemed darker than it had been. Her mouth filled with a wish to drink. A polite wish. The kind hosts hoped to see. The woman in the yellow jacket watched the urn the way a person watches a sleeping dog's ear twitch. She did not move toward it. She did not move away either. "Do not ask for more," she said, voice level. "I'm not going to," Rida said. But her hand betrayed her. It lifted the cup. She stared at her own fingers like they belonged to someone else. She set the cup down and stepped back. The corkboard sighed. Paper settled. Thumbtacks adjusted. A new poster slid under the bottom edge like mail pushed through a door. The photo on it was the peacoat man. The date under his name had no year. It only said, "Missing since the last big storm." A note in the corner, small, "Guide when needed." Rida's fear shifted. It lost its sharp edge and became a deep, slow thing, the kind you could sit with. She thought of the man's steady pouring hand. She thought of how he watched the rain without blinking. She felt sorry for him in a way that made no sense. She felt sorry for herself in a way that made too much sense. The boy on cot 0 whispered another name. This time, Rida heard the last syllable clearly. It sounded like a key turning in a lock. Something on the far wall clicked. A cabinet door she had not noticed opened by itself. Inside, neat stacks of cups. Second cups. Each cup had a tiny line around the middle, as if two halves had been glued. The line was clean and perfect. "Why can't we take more coffee?" Rida asked, keeping her voice small. "Because the first cup belongs to the shelter," the woman said. "It marks you as a guest. The second cup marks you as furniture." "That makes no sense," Rida said. "It makes sense to the ones who live under the floor," the woman said. "They like to know what to keep." Rida looked at the runner. It seemed narrower than before. The dark wood on either side looked softer, like a bruise that spreads. She thought she saw a ripple move across it like a fish under ice. She blinked and the wood was only wood again. Her phone buzzed. Her whole body jumped. She pulled it out with shaking hands. A message from an unknown number. "Where are you?" "Come home." Another. A map pinned the community hall, tagged as last seen. The timestamp was last night at 12:04 a.m. She tried to reply. The keyboard refused her fingers. Letters jumped. Autocorrect offered only her full name. She locked the screen. The woman's eyes were on the phone. "They use whatever you bring," she said. "If it can hold a name, it can hold a door." Rida put the phone face down. The urge to drink surged again, stupid and strong like thirst after a salty meal. She took one step toward the urn. The woman moved between her and the table without hurry. "Let me," the woman said and lifted Rida's half cup. She walked to the bathroom and poured the coffee into the sink. The hall did not like that. The overhead lights dimmed and then returned. The corkboard gave a small, angry tremor that shook a tack loose. It rolled to Rida's shoe and stopped against her toe like a tiny plea. "Sit," the woman said again. "Talk about anything that is not your name. Tell me what you do for work." Rida tried. She reached into the fog where her life should be. A desk. A window with plants. A stack of documents with her name in the corner. She pulled her hand back fast as if she had touched a live wire. "I file forms," she said. "I put things where they belong." "That is convenient," the woman said softly. "We are doing the same." Midnight held. It did not move like other hours. It stretched, thin and long, a sheet of glass that would not break if you dropped it, only cut you in a new way. When the hour finally shifted, it did not feel like time had passed. It felt like someone had changed the sign on a door and told everyone to pretend. The storm quieted. The rain kept falling but with less spite. The boys slept without sound. The woman wrote something on a small card and slid it under the office hatch. Rida stood. The runner shimmered. She wanted to stretch her legs, to prove the building was just a building. She told the woman she would walk the corridor and count the light fixtures, a harmless task. The woman nodded but pointed. "Stay center, heel to toe, no pauses between steps." Rida followed the runner into the back hall. The wallpaper here was older, a garden pattern faded into gray. Family photos had once hung here. The rectangles of clean paint showed where. The air grew colder with each step. The corridor bent a little in a way that cheated her eyes. The ceiling lowered. Or maybe she grew. She counted light fixtures. 1, 2, 3. Each hummed with its own tiny voice. She kept her steps even, heel to toe, no pauses. The runner underfoot felt less like fabric and more like a person's long scarf. She did not step off. She did not look at the gaps in the wood. Halfway down, a side door stood open a crack. A soft white glow came from inside, like the light of a fridge at night. Rida did not want to look. She looked anyway. Inside was a small room with a table and 2 chairs. On the table, 2 cups of coffee. Steam rose from both. One had a lipstick mark that matched her mouth. The other had a thumbprint that looked like the pea-coat man's print would look if he had one. She moved on. 4, 5, 6. At the 7th light, the runner dipped, only a little, as if something had climbed onto it ahead of her. Rida stopped herself from stopping. She kept walking. Il, to, il, to. If she paused, she felt sure the dip would become a mouth. At the corridor's end, a fire door stood closed. A red bar promised an alarm if she pushed it. Through the wired glass, she saw rain and the weak morning blue beyond it. The outside looked flat, like a painting that would not survive air. She put her palm on the bar. It was colder than metal should be. The woman's voice reached her from far back in the hall, soft and clear as if spoken in her ear. "Do not open that one," the woman said. "It leads to last night." Rida turned and walked back heel to toe. The runner had new wrinkles as if it had smiled. The 7th light hummed louder, annoyed. The side room's door was closed now. No glow, no cups. She counted her steps and did not lose one. At the hall's mouth, the woman waited with a blanket. "You did well," the woman said. "Most people look longer into the side room." "I saw 2 cups," Rida said. "One for me. One for the guide." "That room shows what you almost chose," the woman said. "If you had stepped in, there would be a 3rd cup by the time you sat down." Rida shivered. "What happens to people who step off the runner?" "They still walk," the woman said. "But their feet make no sound we can hear. Only the boards do." Rida glanced at the floor. She thought of all the thin rules that hold ordinary days together. Look before you cross. Lock the door. Call when you're late. It felt like those rules had been replaced by these. Do not speak your name. Do not drink a 2nd cup. Do not step off the runner. The new rules were simple, but the price for breaking them was not. Dawn should have come by now. The windows showed a light that was not day, a washed-out gray that felt painted on. The heater woke again and made a low, patient sound. The boy on cot 0 sat up. The poster slid off his chest and fell face up. It held a photo now. Not his. Not Rida's. A woman with the same yellow jacket and the same tired kind face. Found, the poster said in wet letters that would not dry. Rida looked to the woman in the jacket. She seemed to accept it with a nod, as if she had been expecting her own face to be filed. "It happens," she said. "Sometimes the storm gives back what it took. Sometimes it only updates the records. Either way, it writes in ink we do not own." "Are you leaving?" Rida asked. When the rain decides I can, the woman said. When it lets the exit be an exit, not a loop. The boy swung his legs off the cot. His bare feet hovered an inch above the floor. He did not step down. He looked older in the gray light, not in his face but in how he held his shoulders, as if he carried a sack he had picked up in another life. He met Ryda's eyes without interest now. Whatever had listened through him at midnight had gone quiet. The Peacoat Man's poster on the board had new writing in the corner, guided 2. The number had been 1 before. Ryda understood then. He had brought her as someone had once brought him. A chain made of wet steps. Thank you, Ryda said aloud to a person not present. The room heard her and allowed it. The office hatch curtain stirred. Behind it, the sound of papers being sorted, pages turned, stamps pressed. The shelter kept files. The shelter balanced columns. The shelter made sure the taking and the returning added up in a way that satisfied whatever lived under the boards. The clock ticked to 7. The storm thinned into a soft, steady fall. The woman looked at the door and then back at Ryda. If you go now, the park will be shallow, she said. It will pretend to be a park. If you wait, it will remember itself. What happens if I go? Ryda asked. You will pass the bus stop, the woman said. You will see your own poster taped to the glass. People will stand and not see it. If you keep walking, you will find your building. Your key will turn twice and then not turn. If you wait longer, the key will forget you less. Ryda felt thin. She felt like a reflection that had not been fed. She wanted a bed, her bed, not a numbered cot. She wanted a window that looked out on a street that had her name on the mailbox. She looked at the urn. The red light was off again. The smell had gone back to dull. I think I will go, she said, because not choosing was also a choice. Then go on the runner, the woman said. Even outside. Keep to the parts of the path that remember shoes. Ryda nodded. She took a last look at the board. Her own missing poster had a new line under the date. It said rain delay. It meant nothing and also meant everything. Ryda opened the door. The rain touched her like a hand that knows where to press. The park lay flat and honest in the morning gray. Puddles held the sky in pieces. The path was a silver ribbon between drowned grass. She kept to its center and did not pause. The bus stop waited where it had always waited. The timetable was new, clean, printed today. Her poster was taped to the glass. Someone had written a phone number under it with a red marker and then scratched it out with the same hand. A drip fell from the roof and hit the photo's left eye. The eye seemed to blink. Ryda looked away. She walked streets that remembered her shoes in a way her body could feel. Her corner store's awning was torn where it had been torn last month. The green cat that slept in the window box was there, wetter and grumpier. The taste of the city returned in the air. Hot oil, wet concrete, something sweet from the bakery with the cracked tile floor. Each detail felt like a small rescue. She reached her building. The front door stuck and then gave like always. The stairs had the 5th step that groaned. Her key turned once, then twice. She held her breath before the 3rd. She turned. The lock accepted her. The door opened. Inside, the heater's hum was wrong by 1 note. The mug on her counter was the wrong color for the first blink and then the right one. The mirror by the door held her, but her face lagged by half a thought. She walked in slowly as if the apartment were a patient that might wake frightened. On her table, she found a folded flyer. It was from the last shelter, though she had not carried it home. 3 rules in plain words, the same as the sign, but with one more line added in a narrow hand at the bottom. If you hear your name from the hallway after midnight, do not answer. It is just the rain doing its checks. Ryda sat on her couch and let the quiet hold her. She did not speak her name. She did not make coffee. She watched the window until the rain softened to a mist. That night and for many nights after, she kept the rules. She slept far from the window. She did not say her full name in the dark. When she made coffee, she poured 1 cup and drank it slow and never thought of more. Sometimes she heard her name in the hallway, voice careful, voice polite, the exact sound of a friend who has lost your number. She did not answer. She waited until the pipes clicked twice, which meant the building had remembered itself. On some mornings when the storm rolled in again, Ryda saw the Peacoat Man across the street, under the eave of the closed shop. He did not wave. He watched the rain as always. She nodded once. He nodded once back. A poster on a nearby pole had a new number scribbled in the corner. Guided 3. On the day the city finally dried, the corkboard in her head loosened its pins. The posters curled at the edges and fell. The word found slid down like a drop and vanished. Ryda kept the flyer anyway, tucked in a drawer beside her keys. It was a strange comfort to have a rule you could follow when the world turned to water. And on the rare night when she passed the park late and the lights were out and the path looked like glass again, she saw the hall's windows lit and the sign back on the door. Open, come in. She kept to the runner. She kept her hands in her pockets where her fingers could not reach a second cup. Sometimes she thought of the boy and wondered if he had chosen silence or if the cups had chosen him. Sometimes she thought of the woman in the yellow jacket and hoped the word found had meant leaving. More often, she thought of all the names that waited behind the wall of rain, polite and patient and ready to be helpful if you only said yours first. She did not say it. She did not speak it to the dark. She did not hand a tool to a hand she could not see. In this way, Rita stayed where she was supposed to be. Not missing. Not found by the wrong ones. Kept, not kept. Tucked into her life like a paper in the right file. And when the rain returned, as it always does, and ate the lights and made all streets look the same, she remembered the simplest rule of all. Shelter takes what the rain brings. But it listens too. And if you do not call across, it does not always answer.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Leave us a comment for more stories like this. Your support means the world. Stay tuned for more videos.